Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar about coping with coronavirus while responding to client needs. Bear with us for just a couple of minutes. We're waiting for some more people to join us, and with the challenges of everybody working remotely, systems get a little overloaded at times. So I'd ask you to just be patient for a moment or two, and we'll be with you shortly.
Hello.
Hi, Fred.
Hi. Have you got me?
Yeah, Fred Halliday. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. Laura?
Okay, as long as we're all on, you're ready to roll, guys.
Okay. Thanks, Laura. Nitin, can you confirm that you can hear us?
I can hear you, yep.
Okay, very good. Very good. The magic of modern technology. Aren't we learning it every day at the moment?
You bet.
Well, welcome everybody to our webinar about coping with coronavirus while we're responding to client needs. First off, I want to just say that I hope that you and your families are safe and healthy during this very trying time. I'm Stephen Krein, President and CEO of CERC, and I will do my best to moderate the discussions today. As we are living through this, it's an understatement that it's a very trying time for all of us, and most importantly, our families, our employees, and assignees, and the importance of an employer's duty of care has never been greater than it is at this time. There is no playbook for the events that are coming at us on a daily basis, and I hope that through the discussions this afternoon, we'll be able to share ideas and experiences that will help us all to navigate through this difficult time. I just ended a call with one of our members, and we were trying to make sense of everything that's going on. And as we ended the conversation, she said, can we just please go back to normal disruption? You know, we used to speak about so much disruption in our industry, and boy, this is mega disruption. So we've got a lot of interest in the session today, and we've received a lot of questions that we'll get to. As you know, the situation is changing rapidly, and we'll do our very best to provide you with the most up-to-date information as we possibly can in the days and weeks ahead. We are planning to host weekly webinars to keep members updated on developments, so please watch out for further sessions that we're in the process of planning now. Today's session is a departure from the format that we usually follow, in that there are no formal presentations, there's no script, and this will be a discussion between you, our audience, and our presenters. And before we kick off, just a couple of things here to ask any questions that you have please, and we really encourage the questions from the audience. On the right-hand side of your screen, there is a chat box, and if you have questions at any point in the discussions today, type them in there. Between myself and Laura over at Weichert, we'll be collecting those, and then we'll be speaking with Fred and Nitin about those questions. The session today is being recorded, and we'll send you a link to the recording so that you can go back, you can share it with your colleagues. And as always, if you have any suggestions for future events, we'd love to hear from you. And I would like to say thank you to our good friends at Weichert and Laura Glinsky for helping us to pull these sessions together and keeping the platform running for us. And so, to our presenters today, I'm really pleased to, let me just say that we've also, at CERC, we've also developed a COVID-19 information and resources page for members. Here you can share your experiences. You can provide us with any helpful tools and articles that you think would be of interest to our members that we can share through the portal. And there are also links to government resources. So issues around public health, immigration, tax that are updated on a regular basis. And they are not just for Canada, they include most of the countries that have been identified as COVID hotspots, including the UK and Spain, European Union. There are links to the government of the European Union, the United States, and so on. So that's a great resource for you. I'd like to introduce our presenters this afternoon. Many of you know them. They've been in the industry for many years. Nitin Badwar is the Vice President and co-owner of Welcome Home Relocation. It's a Canada-wide destination services provider, 50 locations across Canada, and so he brings a lot of experience and to the discussions this afternoon because of that, working in so many locations across Canada. And Nitin was kind enough to share some levity for this afternoon. So outside of his professional life, he's an avid golfer, he's a sports fan, concert goer, all of which are in serious jeopardy for the foreseeable future. So he may be a little testy and grumpy this afternoon, but as he says, we have a lot in common, and we'll collectively try to navigate through this. So welcome to Nitin this afternoon, and of course, our second speaker this afternoon, welcome to Fred Halliday. Many of you know Fred. He's the Senior Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer, at Atlas Canada. He served as the board chair of CERC. He has responsibility in his role at Atlas for most operational aspects of the organization. He's been in the industry for a number of years with expertise in all aspects of relocation relating to moving, and he's published a number of articles in trade associations. Has been recognized a number of times for service to the industry by CERC, and he has also spoken extensively at our events over the years. So Nitin, Fred, welcome to you both. I hope that you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure, Fred, you're still with us. You're good there?
Yeah, I'm sitting here in my basement with my puppy right beside me. So
I'm sure with many other folks. Fred, while I've got you, give us some personal reflections. How are you coping with the situation? The physical distancing, working from home. What's working for you? What are some of the tips you might be able to share?
Well, to say we're concerned is to say the least about our people and our customers and how long this is going to affect the economy. Although we are considered essential, we have our head office staff at home. We felt it important because, it will only take one to basically shut us down. So most of our agency family are doing the same. But obviously our frontline staff are still out there and they're working for their customers as well, with as much safety as possible, distancing themselves as much as possible. I don't know if there's anything of what works best in all of this, other than the complete understanding by our customers and service providers alike that we're in it together, and that we need to move you, and we need to move you, simply to survive. And altogether, we're trying to keep each other safe in the process. It's a brave new world, and certainly a challenging one, Steve.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot from members too. Nitin, how are you without golf and concert going? Sorry, it's not a funny situation, but
No.
It helps us get through a little bit, doesn't it?
And it's funny you should say that. It is not a funny situation, and yet social media, which is absolutely has conquered us right now because we're all hooked on it. I have never seen more funnier stuff on there than related to COVID-19, which it's kind of it's a sad thing, but at the same time, we're all human beings and we do want some levity. We want something to laugh about, or we'll just go crazy. Personally, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, I sometimes hate getting up in the morning because you expect it to be worse than yesterday, and then you expect it to be, and then tomorrow the same thing, and it's very, very difficult to function that way. It's like Fred said. I mean, we are extremely worried. I know our partners, our clients are extremely worried. Our staff, of course, are very worried. We look at this day by day. We don't know, what tomorrow will bring. Canada seems to be stepping up in a big way in terms of having some kind of aid packages for businesses and for staff. We're trying to access some of these things so that we can keep everybody employed. And because that's part of our commitment to our clients. So right now it's business as usual, but we don't really know what as usual is. I think of it as a twilight zone right now. Streets are deserted, schools and businesses are closed, travel's ground to a halt, malls are closed. And to a large extent, we feel like criminals if we even leave our homes. It's like we're breaking some rule. And more than talking about, bringing in more enforcement of quarantines and what have you. So it is, it's an unprecedented time. And I think it's a testament to all of us that we are still functioning and continue to, and will do so to the best of our abilities for as long as we can.
Mm-hmm. I just remind folks that, as we're going through the session this afternoon, if you've got questions, please, I encourage you to post them into the chat box. I think everybody's got lots to share, and this is a great opportunity to either share comments or please ask any points that you'd like to have covered, like to learn more about from Fred and Nitin. That you were very honest, Nitin, in saying it's tough getting up in the morning, and fortunately today in Toronto anyway, we've got some beautiful spring weather, which I take a lot of personal comfort in, because it's very nice to see. It puts a positive attitude out there. But so how are you staying connected? What are you doing to stay connected with your teams, to provide them with, you know, that leadership and optimism and direction, to keep them focused and motivating? How are you getting through that?
That's a great question. One of the things we were really lucky to have done a long time ago is have a work from home program, where everybody worked from home 2 days a week of their choice. So for us to just, you know, seamlessly have everybody work from home was absolutely a no-brainer, and it's business as usual, like I said, with our clients. Video meetings have become an integral part now of everything that we do, and we kind of insist on video meetings because there is, you know, I still maintain humans need humans, and we all want that interaction. And when you can actually see somebody versus just hearing their voice, you know, it connects our team a lot more than not. So, you know, we kind of have update meetings that way, and we update them about everything. We update them about, obviously, you know, what's going on in the market and what's going on in our country. But we also update them about the realities of what this means to our business and to our functionality. So, you know, to your point about motivation, that's a little bit hard at times. What we're doing right now, because we're lucky enough to do it, is we have been able to catch up on things that we couldn't before. Touch wood, it has been a very busy year thus far, which obviously has changed dramatically now. But you know, instead of running around trying to stay afloat with client servicing, we can now actually spend some time and dedicate some resources and effort, first of all, to catching up, but also to improving on things that we should have done before, could have done before, wanted to do before, but couldn't. So that's a little bit of a motivational thing for them at this time. And I keep saying at this time because I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I mean, we of course want to service our clientele, and we're committed to doing that, but there are certain economic realities that could, you know, get in the way. We're trying to keep as much continuity as possible. The idea, of course, is when we do get out of this, that we'll have our whole team in place the way it is right now, so that we can continue on as before.
Great. Fred, how are you staying connected, and are you using Nitin, what just out of interest, what are you using for video meetings? That's a question that's been asked of me a little bit.
We use two. We have an internal CRM which is called Zoho, so we have that capability. But we more often than not are using Zoom because it is a better platform for video meetings.
Okay, good information. Fred, how are you staying connected and, you know, providing that motivation and leadership? And
well, most of our work, unlike Nitin, most of our work was completed with our staff in house. And you know, I think the first one or two individuals that we had working from home has taught us a great deal, and that occurred really over the last year. But now, of course, they're all out, and the real big thing is to stay connected. I think Nitin hit the nail on the head about making sure that you have that interconnection going on. And I have to say that I really like the approach that both the federal government and the provincial governments have been taking. I think it is the model, I believe, in making sure that you're coming out consistently day after day with information related to what's transpiring. Our gang are looking for that daily communication to find out what's happening. They're all concerned, and they want to know. They want to be in the know. And there's far too many rumors out there to deal with. So we try and make sure that we have the relevant information in front of them. You know, and it may be something about public funding or best methods for keeping safe, or where to get a hot shower and meal, which is, I have to tell you, is the most important thing that we hear from our gang on the street is, where can I get something to eat? Where can I stay? Where can I get a shower? Because things are closing down. It's very difficult for them to find those locations. So we make sure that we keep that information up to date and issued to them daily on a daily basis. Basically, what we're trying to do is keep the spirits up and let them know that they're not alone, and we're not alone in all of this. And I have to agree with Nitin on the two methods we use more so than not is Zoom, because the face-to-face interaction is much better, and we have a good laugh about the backgrounds and our T-shirts and our long hairdos now, and the fact that we're not getting a haircut, and really that's what we talk about. But we're trying to build spirits when we're doing it. That's part of the leadership and the motivation of the people out in the street. Secondly, we're using WhatsApp, which is another good little application on cell phones, to have chat groups amongst the departments so that they can keep in touch with each other on a regular basis. So I would say to you, weekly we're doing department meetings on Zoom. Daily we're meeting about COVID, the senior leadership team, to make sure that we're talking about what's going on, that we keep abreast of everything. And so the key is communicating with your team on a regular basis.
Thanks. We just actually, I hope the person that asked the question was how do you ensure you stay connected with your team when everyone is working remotely? So I hope we covered that off for you. Are you doing weekly briefings, Nitin, or are you in daily contact? How's that working?
In terms of actual formal meetings, we do 2 a week.
Yeah.
Unless there's a reason to do it more frequently.
I see.
And then in terms of just normal business activity, we're dealing with each other at all times, either by messaging, emailing, texting, and to some degrees, one-on-one video chats. Yeah,
good. I heard from one of our corporate members in a discussion that we had yesterday during one of the roundtables. They have a thing called Hangouts, and they have coffee every morning at 8:30. And he said, we don't talk about work. Well, he said we're supposed to, but we kind of share our bad hair days and so on. Anyway, let's if we can move on. I think to some of the critical issues around service and so on. This is undoubtedly usually it's the busiest time of the year for our industry. We're just ramping up into that in during normal times. That's obviously not the case today. So maybe you can share some of the realities in your respective fields. And we don't know what's coming next, and so how are you planning around some of this, and how are your clients? What's the mood? What's the outlook? And how do you assist them through this? So maybe I could ask Fred if you could share some thoughts on that, please.
Well, I guess for planning, frankly, we're doing it on the seat of our pants at this point. And I know there's probably some people laughing in the background on this, but it's been a challenge to say the least. Back in late fall, this is usually when we plan our years, around August, September of last year, for what's going to transpire in 2020. So you can well imagine our plan is not very good.
Yeah.
So we're going through reforecasting. Well, we've gone through a reforecasting plan, and we basically established 3, which is an okay plan, reforecast, a not so okay reforecast, and a very not so okay forecast, or as we call it, Armageddon. So we got to put some light into it, but it is what it is. I mean, the first quarter of the year, as Nitin said, was good, was okay. But now we're facing the realities, and we're seeing the drop in volume for the next, pre-bookings for the next couple of months. So I would say to you, we're in the not so okay reality, making the appropriate adjustments. You know, talk about the mood and the outlook of the clients. Are they optimistic? Well, they're concerned for their associates, and that comes out loud and clear. And you know what? The other thing they're concerned about is our crews as well. And I have to love our clients when they say that. It's so damn thoughtful because we're all going through it again together, as I said. But again, like us, they are planning for when this is going to be over and get back to the new reality, as we call it, the new reality, not, because I don't know, we'll be paying for the billions of dollars of investment in the Canadians for forever now, by the looks of it. But it needs to be done, because if it wasn't there would be a serious collapse in our economy. There's no question. And of course, business continuity programs have been becoming much more serious now, which is, I guess, no, we're Canadians, right? We have our programs and we talk about it, and we never thought that we'd ever get into this kind of position that we have to seriously take it very seriously now, which we're all doing, and certainly our clients are doing that as well. So there you go.
Thanks. Yeah. I don't think anybody's laughing in the background, Fred. This has been a 2x4 across everybody's head, without a doubt. Nitin, maybe would you like to chime in on any of those thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I echo a lot of what Fred has said, and not to be negative, because we're all trying to be positive in this time, but it's a massive question mark. And in our we're destination services. We are dependent on corporate travel. We're dependent on human touch and human connection and connectivity. For us, it's been devastating. You and I were talking, a few days ago, and are we getting initiations? Actually, we are, which absolutely shocks us, because we're expecting absolutely nothing. And once in a while, we will get some initiations, which is a massive surprise to us. But that, it's an anomaly, and we'll see how things actually play out. And how do we plan for this? Like, our plan is essentially, okay, plan on zero for the next 3 months. Well, what business can survive on zero for the next 3 months? So, that makes it really a tough choice. We're all making decisions based on what we know, but we're not even sure if they're the right ones or not. And what we know today may be completely proven false tomorrow. So, within the framework of all of that, it's the same thing. We try to remain optimistic in talking to our clients and our partners at different levels. I mean, they're all concerned. I mean, concerned for their own positions and their welfare and where the company is going and how we're all going to come through this. Some, though, at this point still, I believe, think that when this does go away, that everything is going to get back to the old normal. I'm all for it, and I think we are all for it. But I'm just personally, I'm cautious, because we cannot globally take such a massive economic hit and think that we're all just going to come back to where it was in the first place. It's one of these things where it's the old, you only know what you know. So, and that's why I said, sometimes waking up is hard to do, because you're not sure how much worse tomorrow is going to be, and we still don't know. Now in Canada, they're talking about possibly this thing going on for another 3 months, and it won't be July till we get back to some kind of normality. China didn't seem to have that long a phase, so I'm not sure if this is just the doomsday prophets or what, but it's worrisome. But but in that, we are still trying our best to maintain the status quo for our clients, and to be fair, our clients are working with us as well. I mean, they're all, it's like Fred said, we are all in this together.
Yeah. I've just to share with folks on the call, I've been hosting meetings with our corporate clients, corporate members, pardon me, over the last several days. And, you know, the stories that they have told me about the support that the service partners have been coming together and finding solutions for them. There's just so much. There's just so much to share there, and I think there's a lot of gratitude and respect back for the work that the service partners are doing. To a person, everybody that I've spoken to has said how much they valued the support, and they couldn't do some of the things that they're able to do without the support that they've received from the service partners. Because there is, as I said at the beginning, there's no playbook for this. No. One of the people that were participating in the discussion, she said, you know, we're making decisions right now, but we don't know whether they're the right decisions, and we may find out tomorrow that they were the wrong decisions. And she said it's quite frightening at times. But she said we're getting the support and we're getting the best advice and information that we can from the service partners. So, let me. If I could just ask you, Fred, just bring it down to basics a little bit, if you could. What does it look like on the ground? Like, you've got a family that sold a house, they've got no choice, they've got to move from Calgary to wherever. What's the reality of that on the ground? How are moving crews dealing with that, going into a person's home, with all of the precautions that we need to be concerned about today?
There's a great amount of communication that's being done up front now with the transferee, the family moving, and the crews. So we're preparing both at the same time. Our agents are spending more time with the crew, preparing them. We're preparing the van operator, and certainly we're having direct conversations with the transferees, simply to, you know, ask appropriate questions up front, and to also guide them with some of the realities of things they should watch out for during the process. And it's working. It's certainly being appreciated, and of course we're trying to keep the distance between the crews and the transferee in the home as much as possible. But obviously there's going to be some contact between the van operator and the transferee with instructions. But as we're saying, for the most part, we're requesting that the transferee, you know, pretty much avoid the crews in general, other than the van operators, so that there's not as much interaction between them. So it's like I say, it's a brave new world, and Nitin has said it's a brave new world, but we're getting through it, and we're all working together, which is, you know, I have to say, is really it's, and no disrespect to any of the Americans on the call, but it's great to be Canadian when you see stuff like that, because it's Canadians working together and respecting each other, and I think it's absolutely marvelous.
Mm. Fred, I've got kind of a follow-up question for you. I'm going to take as many of the questions as I can in. And you spoke about this a couple of minutes ago about, you know, your concern for your crews. So this was a question for Fred, and I'm just gonna read it. It said, "We're seeing a lot of information on social media about how challenged truck drivers are to have access to basic amenities while on the road. Is this a big challenge for our van foreman? And any suggestions around how we can help support those essential workers as a relocation industry?" So, you know, your point about people working together, any suggestions about how we as an industry can help support those essential workers?
Well, it is really it's a really simple request from our end. What we do is we prepare an absolute list as much as complete as we can get this list for our people and issue it regularly. And it's an updated list on fuel locations, scale locations that are open, where you can fill up. Well, I said fuel locations, where you can get a meal. Just absolutely everything that they need to ensure that they understand from coast to coast exactly, what's available to them when they get into a particular region. Because, there could be weeks or even months before they get into a particular territory and don't really know what's still left open. So we try to provide that guidance. So the more that we can work together and you can feed that information into us, and from your particular region, it's well appreciated. It certainly is, because these guys, these ladies and gentlemen, are really really doing their very best and taking some pretty what I would consider some pretty high risks and health risks to work, and they're doing that specifically because they need to. They have payments they have to make for leases and for equipment, and to survive like the rest of us. So any kind of input like that you could provide and send it into us, and we share it. We share it publicly. To be honest with you, we don't hold anything back. Really, if we have information, it's being shared with other van operators across the country through their contacts and certainly through drivers as they interact on the road. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking that question, Fred. And I'm trying to think about how we might be able to integrate information from about that into our information, or I wonder if through CAM, through the Canadian Association of Movers, we can figure out some way of coordinating information on that.
Well, I think so, because just to interject, Steve, and I apologize for doing that, but I just want to hit a point on this, because this is paramount. The more we do collectively, the better off we're going to be, because if we do it individually, it takes resources and it takes time. And we know how busy we already are. So just do a little bit together, and then it can be combined at CERC and posted, or at CAM, or any other industry association would be certainly appreciated.
Yeah, and that's really good. That's really good advice. And so we'll try to work with that. Nathan, can you the same kind of question, I guess, is bringing it right down to the basics, to the community level, to your teams. Can you share some examples of some of the things that you're dealing with?
Well, definitely. And the thing is, it's a little bit less so now, because I think one of the things I should preface is initially when all of this started to happen, clients expected that services were going to continue as they always have. One of the things we haven't touched on is how much time we have spent on actual client updates. And when we used to, originally, when we were updating clients, obviously they wanted to know information. But they also wanted to know what was our status. We needed to let them know immediately if we could not service a file, or not do this or not do that. And over time, it became less so about, and then more of a collective, okay, how are we all dealing with this? So that has changed along the way. But initially, when we were still expected to provide the services, especially the accompanied services, we had to get really, really clever about how to do it. Our consultants on the road were concerned, as were the clients and the transferees. So we had to bring into play certain types of things where, in some cases, we've gone. Our consultant has gone in one car, and the transferee and the family have gone in a separate car. They've met at a certain location. They talk with social distancing. If they go into a building, they will take separate elevators going up or down. Our consultant will go in, open the door, clean the handles, and then again within the units, keep that spacing. Similarly on orientations and what have you, we've come up with other ways where, again, we kind of do a lot of the social distancing. Now, initially, before it was almost mandated about social distancing, we would have people traveling in our consultants' cars, and then they would have to, the consultants would do a complete wipe down of the cars and what have you after every trip. So it's been evolving, and like I said, now it's become more and more of a if there. Now I do also have to point out, in our segment, it's becoming more and more challenging to actually service the clients in the traditional manner, because so many things are closing down. I mean, government offices are closing. Even bank branches are closing, like physically closing. So our ability to service them is limited now, to whatever is available and whatever can be achieved. Schools are closed, so you can't do a lot of that stuff. But when we have had to become very, very clever and come up with innovative ways to try and safeguard everybody, because now the issue has become, before our duty of care primarily used to be to our clients. Now our duty of care is just as much to our staff and our consultants on the road, and making sure that all parties are safeguarded in this. And our clients have been right on board with that, because we have questionnaires for transferees if they've traveled. A lot of corporates, when they do bring in, or when they were bringing in employees, would actually quarantine them for the 14 days and have them work from home before they came into an office environment. Now, I say it like, as if it was a long time ago, when it wasn't. We're talking about like literally 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But this is how much things have just changed, and how fast things have changed, and how fast we've all had to adapt. I mean, even when Fred talks about, it was funny. It wasn't until I heard Doug Ford actually berating everybody for not being good to truck drivers. You don't think, like, not everybody thinks of everything. You don't realize, wow, that's a really good point. These guys, they don't have access to amenities and what have you. And we're all learning every step of the way and finding out. And that's one of the things I love about CERC. We're a collective in ourselves. And I think there's so much we can learn from each other in terms of the experiences, and share some of the best practices going forward, although they will change tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was encouraging to hear the Premier talk about that when he talked about keeping the service centers open as an essential service. So yeah, and I'm sure that you've got challenges with anybody that is arriving. They've got to go into self-quarantine. Are you having any experience around that in terms of how you're handling those situations?
Well, that's interesting too, because it wasn't that long ago where our consultants were having a problem with that, in the scenario that I talked about, where companies were telling their employees after they moved here, you work from home for 14 days before coming into the office.
Yeah.
But our consultants are saying, but it's okay if they come in my car with me. And the thing is, you want to make sure you're protecting your employees and your staff, but at the same time, trying to conduct business as usual and trying to service the clients. And I think in some ways, though, it has become easier as this has developed into the behemoth that it is now, where everybody is on the same page. Okay, no, I have no expectations that you're going to take them out, and we have no expectations that we have to take somebody out. It's changing to the point where we all appreciate now that, look, we have to do our part, service them the best you can, given the tools that you have. And we are getting innovative now. I mean, it's interesting because we had an aha moment yesterday, which could be a game changer for us. And this is the kind of stuff that I talk about, with motivating staff and what have you. It's like all of a sudden, necessity is the mother of invention. Now all of a sudden we're thinking of ways and we're going, whoa, why didn't we think of this before? And you know what? This could work for us long term. So it just, like we're constantly having to think of how to do this better and how to do it effectively given our new reality. And I think, we'll do it with some success in some cases and not be able to do it in other cases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just mindful of time and questions here, and I think we've adequately addressed this. Certainly, Fred, you talked about this, but I'll just give you an opportunity if there's anything else that you'd like to say on this particular issue, and it's around the business continuity and the planning. What types of initiatives are you taking to ensure business continues beyond COVID? And I guess the jury's out on that at this point. As you said, you've got three: best, okay, and Armageddon, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fluid right now. I'll tell you that. I mean, it's changing by the day. I mean, just I forget what day it was now, but I mean, even though you're considered essential services, then you have some customs officer that's making a new interpretation of the rules and sending one of your guys into isolation for 14 days. Or, just, Nunavut coming out with the new policy that you have to ask Mother May I to get into the territory. I mean, these things are happening daily. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of trying to keep up with them, which I think we're doing a pretty effective job in the industry. And then secondly, making sure that we're flexible. We're all flexible as we go through this to ensure the safety of everyone that's involved in the process. Mm-hmm. So as far as I'm concerned, as I said to you, I think we've collectively done a wonderful job in reacting to the situation. And yeah, it's going to go on for a little while yet, and we have to get through it. And one thing when we come out of the other end is to make sure that we're all communicating still on the kind of volumes we're looking at, because it could just all hit at the same time after, the majority of the industry has laid off people. Yeah. Now, we are certainly going through temporary layoffs, and we're also looking at the new program that just came out from the federal government over the last couple of days, but that's not available for 6 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with temporary layoffs over the next few weeks. But I will say to you, it'll be one of the, and why I'm mentioning this with your question about business continuity is the matter of, okay, how do you get the people back? Like, how do you get those drivers back and casual labor back to the industry? It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. And the whole issue around skills. All companies are struggling with it and trying to figure out how they keep people whole and not lose them, because the value of organizations today is based on their skills, their talent, regardless of the industry. So it is a real concern. But I think, as you said at the beginning of the conversation, Fred, that the government is trying to put at least measures in place that will assist with business continuity going forward. Lord knows how it's all going to play out, but hopefully it's going to help support that continuity in the future. We're up against we're coming to the end of the hour here, and I'm very mindful. I know you've both dropped things to get on this call this afternoon, so let me. We've had a good conversation this afternoon. It's been a little bit different, as everything is at the moment. but maybe I could ask each of you, what are some of your, and you've both been in the industry for a long time. You've seen the downturn. You've seen 9/11. You've seen the downturn in 2008, 2009, the recession that we've just been through. I'd appreciate hearing what some of your biggest takeaways are from the experience over the past month. What have we learned? What do you think about the future? And I know you've touched on them at different points through the conversation this afternoon, but Nitin, maybe I'll let you give us some thoughts there, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, sure. Well,
you said we'd need an hour for that.
Yeah. What have we learned? Well, a couple of things. Fred touched on this before. Canada, we have all come together as a community, whether it's in our communities, our city, our country. And I think we have done that very well. I was talking to some of our American counterparts, and things are way more fragmented there and way more problematic. Whereas I think, and even though, and one of our challenges that we've had in over these last few weeks and perhaps the month is, the lack of consistency across all regions. And because we do service across Canada and try to keep everything consistent, different provinces were enacting things at different times, which made it a little bit hard, and also takes a lot more time when trying to update clients and what have you. But by and large now, again, I think we're all at that stage where we are as a collective have come together and decided that what measures need to be taken to beat this thing. And as a society, I think are doing it quite well. One of the other things that we have found in our industry, and one of the challenges that we run up against, is to do with landlords and security deposits, and also with leases, because of and it's not greed, perhaps it's necessity. We run into a lot more challenges repatriating security deposits from landlords, because whatever their circumstances are, economically the climate has changed. We've had clients and transferees that are in transition that came, signed a lease, went back, now can't come back. So we're those issues ironed out, and have run into significant amounts of resistance, shall we say. But the other thing that I've learned anyway is, like I said, humans are humans, and we do one thing that you see a lot of now is how much we are all aching for human contact and socializing. And when it's taken away from you, it's amazing how much we are dependent on each other, rely on each other, need each other. And the other thing that I have learned, and some of this is personal, is economics cannot supersede common sense. And I equate it to social distancing. When we all had the opportunity very early on, months ago, when we should have shut our borders, we didn't. And I'm not getting into a political thing, but now all of a sudden it's become the thing to do when all of our economies are completely trashed. So, we could have done things differently. It's always easy to say afterwards and in hindsight. And in terms of what next, I don't think anybody knows what it's going to look like. I think we are all hoping that our clients are just waiting in the wings, and as soon as things ease up and this thing goes away, that we will start to see a flow of activity. I think we touched on the whole thing about staffing, so we're trying desperately to keep our staff so that that continuity is there, but it may not be possible. And I also think one of the, in terms of our attitudes and our behaviors and our actions in the future, I think are going to be a little bit different, even just right down to how we deal with each other. Our hygiene, Lord knows, we're all washing our hands so much more than we ever did. even how we greet each other. So it's just, I think there's a lot of changes that are coming, but nobody can predict. And my last prediction, I would say, there's going to be lots and lots and lots of hugs when we finally do get out of this, and maybe a spike in the birth rate and divorces.
I think the spike in the birth rate for sure. 2020 will go down in the history books. I'm sure from that perspective. Thanks, Nitin. Fred, I give you the last words.
Well, yeah, I'll have to do it quick.
Lots of time, my friend.
You know, some of the things that are going to be very interesting out of this is, what my staff feel about working from home. And yeah, I know and Nitin's right, we all love interaction, no question. But I found the Zoom meetings really a lot of fun, because all we're doing is checking and making sure everybody's okay, the teams are okay, but it is more of a social event. There's no question about it, and laughing at each other. And I think that in our perspective, we may find that this is the new norm for us going forward as far as working with our teams. Some of you are already there, I know, but for the most part, I just find that rather interesting, because the technology is just so good compared to what it used to be. Secondly, I agree with Nitin. I think we're going to hug each other a heck of a lot more after this. And why I say that is, I think there's going to be a little bit of a gentler environment coming out of this amongst the world. Certainly, the rhetoric has definitely declined rapidly through this, because we're all in it together. And I'm hopeful for a better world, a more reasonable world coming through this, because we all have to fight through the debt that we're all going to have to pay out of this, and with the realization that we better get serious about health and about these flu epidemics. And so I think there's going to be a lot of work that way, and working together amongst countries. And yeah, I know that's a bit of Pollyanna pie in the sky, but that's my hope for the future. There you go, Steve.
All right. Well, I think you echo the words and thoughts of many, many people, Fred, and about, there will be some good come out of this. And I was just checking over my notes from a couple of days ago, and I'll give it you verbatim from one of our members. She said, and I asked the same question, what do you think for the future? What have we learned? And she said, honestly, I think it's a chance for humanity to reset. So I think there's some truth in that. So true. Yeah. Listen, Fred and Nitin, we are right on the hour, and so I want to thank you both for taking the time. I know you're juggling, as everybody is, with lots of things, but I really do appreciate you taking the time with us today. And to all of you out there, thank you. Greatly appreciate your participation and the questions that we had from today. Obviously, it's a critical interest. And if you do have additional questions, send them over. info@CERC. We'll do our very best to get you an answer to those questions. I would like to just say thanks again to Wykert for hosting us this afternoon, and remind you that we do have information on the COVID-19, and I'd encourage you to take a look at that. It's got some good resources. So I wish you all a good day. Until next time, stay safe and healthy, and reach out and call somebody. Take care.
Great. Thanks, you too.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, guys.